How do you feel about medication over meditation?
Great question. I think at this point, where our society is at, medication is going to be with us for a while. Okay. And to really work on your healing, if you've been diagnosed with something like bipolar disorder that you think has a strong spiritual dimension and you want to get off that medication, you need to dedicate yourself to a pretty serious healing package, you might say, or a healing focus, right? If you don't, you're probably going to wind up having repeated episodes. It's going to happen again and again and again, okay? And that healing path, there are people who can find their own healing path. I have a friend of mine who's a doctor who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In his case, I think it was bipolar 2, which didn't get him in the psychiatric hospital. But just watching my videos gave him a different orientation towards his condition. And he was able to go off medication and has been off medication for 10 years, you know. So sometimes just a mental reorientation towards what you're going through as an inner spiritual process or emotional process can be enough to get you off meds. But for most people, it's going to be, they're going to need help and deeper work. And that's why I do healing retreats now. I do private healing retreats for people. Whether I like it or not, most people are going to be medicated to start, okay? And often when they come to my work, they're thinking, well, is this a mental illness? And if it is, I need medication. Or is it a spiritual experience in which I don't need medication? And what I'd suggest to them is that focus on your functionality. And if you need those medications to function, to hold your family together, to keep your job, etc., keep using those meds. But then, you know, find the practices that are going to help you heal at the same time, all right? And meditation can be part of that. I'm a certified holotropic breathwork facilitator, and that's the main technique I use on my retreats, is a variation on holotropic breathwork, which was a technique developed by Dr. Stanislav Grof, all right? So I'm saying stay with the medications and work on your healing process. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Could you go more in depth about breath work?
Sure. Well, the underlying idea of my work is that your disorder is primarily caused by trauma. It might be caused by just excessive drug use, but usually people who are using drugs excessively are highly traumatized people because they don't feel good about themselves. So they're using the drugs to sort of self-medicate, you might say, right? And but so if you've been traumatized to some degree, and all of us have to some degree, and that trauma is held in a bioenergetic system that goes throughout the body, right? You could call that the chakra system, which is kind of a common thing that people have heard of, or a subtle body, or Kundalini system, right? But that system hasn't been found by science yet. But based on the experience of many people going into non-ordinary states, it seems that this bioenergetic system seems to be something that, most people can identify with, specifically if they've done, certain esoteric practices like deep meditation, or breath work. So the trauma is lodged in blockages in that bioenergetic system. This is the analogy we go with. And so to heal, you want to unlock those blockages, bringing the trauma to the surface. And that can be a very powerful and emotional and spiritual process. And in my case, what I use is holotropic breathwork. Okay. So what holotropic breathwork will do? Well, first, holotropic means moving towards wholeness. And holotropic breathwork is a very trademarked form of breathwork. So many times you'll hear about many variations on breathwork these days, and many people will say, "Oh, I've done breathwork. I did breathwork in my kitchen for 10 minutes yesterday." It's like, that's not holotropic breathwork. I'm sorry. It's a trademark format with Grof transpersonal training. Groff Legacy Training is another trainer that's legitimate, okay? But what happens is you have a very set format of safe set and setting, and a fixed time period, and a trained facilitator, and powerful music. And all of this comes together so that when the person starts to breathe, there's no specific breathing technique. It's just an over breathing that you can breathe at your own pace. So some people might want to breathe through the nose, like inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. I can't because my nose doesn't really work. It's just for show. So I breathe through the mouth, which a lot of pranayama people will say is terrible, but I breathe like this, like, and this accelerated breathing will start to take you into a mild, non-ordinary state. At least that's the way it will start. All right. But it's a little bit like, it's not like a drug experience where you're just catapulted into another reality. With holotropic breathwork, you're in this reality and you're in touch with this other side at the same time. So it's almost as if you're a computer and you've got your sort of Microsoft Word functionality and Excel, and that's all part of your computer. But you've also got the internet as well. And that internet is very expansive. And our brains are that way. In our brains, we've got this sort of linear functioning brain, but we also have this expansive internet aspect, which is really connected, seems to be connected to the entire universe. And Stan Groff is the first psychologist to really spell that out in his books. And through that, we're intimately connected. And so when you go into holotropic breathwork in these non-ordinary states, certain experiences will come up with you that will be sort of powerful, and you're encouraged to sort of work with them through movement and vocalization in a very primal way, right? So, for example, I might, have a feeling, I could have a physical feeling, like I could just have a lot of tension come up. So I just might be like this and all tensed up on the mat, just because you're on a yoga mat when all this is happening, But then the music might move me in a different way, and I might feel like I'm sailing or flying. And in those moments, your arms are out, and you're just moving in the way that you feel like the music and the inner experience wants you to go. So it almost becomes like a dance. And you're just encouraged to really express yourself with whatever's coming up. And it can be difficult. I've been in one of the first breathwork experiences that I ever went into. One of the things I heard from the other side of the room was a woman, yelling, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." She was clearly going through something abuse related, early on. And with experienced breathers, if an untrained person went into a room full of experienced breathers, it can really seem like a mass exorcism is taking place, because it can just seem totally bonkers. It really can.
Hey guys, I would like to take a moment to introduce you to our app, Yoga Plus. You will have access to an incredible selection of videos led by top instructors in yoga, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Download our Yoga Plus app, available on iOS and Android today.
Join us for 14 and 30-day programs, hour-long classes, and much more on our yoga app, Yoga Plus by Psychetruth. It's free to download and features a variety of wellness content, including yoga, fitness, Pilates, guided meditations, and interviews with dozens of wellness experts.